Well, second time's a try.
My Lord Duke.
Where the fear is gone, only I will remain.
Go, go, go!
Dune, or Dune Part 1, was directed by Denis Villeneuve with a screenplay from John Spaihts, Denis Villeneuve, and Eric Roth. The film is based on Frank Herbert's first book in the Dune series. The film has a star-studded cast including Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Zendaya, Chang, Sharon, Duncan-Brewster, Charlotte Rampling, Jason Momoa, and Javier Bardem. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, a noble family becomes embroiled in a war for control over the galaxy's most valuable asset while its heir becomes troubled by visions of a dark future. For years, for decades, studios have tried and failed to live up to Frank Herbert's acclaimed science fiction novel, which you can see right here, for a very long time. Universal Studios tried with David Lynch's Dune back in 1984, but the film was panned upon reception and was a box office bomb, which squashed any attempt of bringing to life Frank Herbert's novel in any sort of way. Though there was a miniseries in 2000 on Dune, there has never been really another adaptation of it on the big screen as a whole. 37 years later, Denis Villeneuve, who has shown himself to be an accomplished director on his own, and having just recently done Blade Runner 2049, takes a crack at bringing to life Herbert's novel. And I can say this, and I took it upon myself to actually read Dune in preparation for the film, and I was always curious because of course, I've heard about Dune for a while, and I've, of course, heard about the David Lynch, about the reception of it, but just about the story as a whole. So I took it upon myself to read about at least like 500 pages, because at the very least, that is what the first movie is covering. So I could say, thankfully, Villeneuve has succeeded in respecting and bringing Herbert's book to life. So the movie only covers about the first half of the book. Like I said, read about 500 pages, and upon last year, I did finish it finally, and I can't wait to read the other books in the series. But I am happy to report that the movie is a success, at least for me. So now let's just jump into the review by hitting the positives. The performances are, I think, fantastic. Timothée Chalamet perfectly captures what I think Paul Atreides is as a young man who doesn't know who he'll become as the heir to House Atreides. In this world, there are houses that conquer the entire universe, House Atreides being one of them. By being an heir to House Atreides, by living up to either his father's success or following his own path. Because, I mean, he is, in a way, the future of his house once his father is gone. He's also dealing with having the powers of the Bene Gesserit, which in the book series is a powerful social, religious, and political sisterhood force that trains members, their bodies and mind for years to obtain superhuman powers and abilities. In the film, he has to constantly battle both sides. He's constantly having to live up to his family, but also live up to the Bene Gesserit's view. He's constantly having to feel this pressure, and I think Timothée Chalamet does a great job of balancing both the stoicness of who Paul Atreides is, having lived in this house for a long time, being propped up to hopefully take over, while also having to deal with having the gifts of the Bene Gesserit. I think Rebecca Ferguson is excellent as Lady Jessica. Ferguson, I think, plays her with nuance as a loving and devoted concubine, somebody who is not married to Duke Leo, but is pretty much a wife to him, but also being a mother to Paul, but also being scared of the Reverend Mother and the fear of her son's fate. It's this constant notion that she is scared of what could become of him. And I truly do believe in the film, she only wants what's best for Paul, but it's her duty to train him in the ways of the Bene Gesserit, to have him hone in on the powers of the Bene Gesserit. And I think both Chalamet and Ferguson play off of each other very well throughout the film, making the audience really care about their relationship as a whole, as mother and son. How their survival will determine the future of their house or just of their fate. I think Oscar Isaac is great as Duke Leo Atreides, the head of House Atreides. He plays Leo as a strong, commanding, but respectful leader that cares for not just really his family, but his house. He's in charge of this whole house to keep it from crumbling, and so it really does show that he really deeply cares about the safety of his family, but he really cares about making sure that his entire family legacy lives on through Paul, but just really hopefully showing respect in that sort of way. And I think that Isaac plays off of Chalamet and Ferguson and Brolin very well. And speaking of Brolin, I think Josh Brolin plays very well as Gurney Halleck, the weapons master to House Atreides, as well as a mentor slash friend and kind of an advisor to Paul. And I think Brolin plays Halleck as a skilled and tough warrior while also lending advice to Paul and making him human once you get to know him more. He becomes more down to earth once you get to see him interact with Paul and his conversations with him. I think he plays off of Chalamet and Isaac very well, and you just get to see the human side to him. I also think that Stellan Skarsgård is very terrifying as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is the head of the Atreides' sworn enemy, the Harkonnens. They are essentially both enemies that have been dealing with each other for centuries. I think Skarsgård conveys the Baron as this disgusting, vile, but also imposing figure who will do anything to destroy the Atreides at any cost. I also really did enjoy Stephen McKinley Henderson's performance as Stepford Howard, the Manette, a human who specializes to mimic the cognitive and analytic ability of computers. So essentially he is just one big computer, but just a human to the Atreides. He really conveys the confidence and comfort to Paul and Leo as a whole, and it really just shows how much he is dedicated to House Atreides. Charlotte Rampling as Reverend Mother Mohim, the Emperor's Bene Gesserit's truce slayer, as a force to be reckoned with. She is not somebody you want to mess with, and somebody you would definitely be kind of similar to Jessica in that she is a scary person to come across. Her interactions with other characters makes her just really terrifying, no matter what. I mean, the scene with her and Paul with the famous box scene just really shows how much she could be a very terrifying force to be reckoned with. I also really enjoy Jason Momoa's performance as Duncan Idaho, the sword master to House Atreides and another one of Paul's mentors. Momoa brings kind of his energy to Duncan, showing off the fun side to him whenever he's with Paul, but also shows the fierce side when he's in battle. But really, it's that chemistry that he has with Chalamet that is, I think, strong throughout. But when he is vicious in battle, I mean, he is legit vicious. I mean, there's a reason why he's a very skilled warrior and one that really puts up a tough fight when you watch the movie. And lastly, Javier Bardem is just wise and as funny as Stilgar, who is the leader of the Fremen tribe at Spaihts. And I really do think that Bardem is just deadpan throughout and as confident as a leader. You don't get to see that much of him, but near towards the end of the movie when he does shine a lot in the scenes that he's in. I think direction is excellent, man. Director Denis Villeneuve really truly brings Herbert's novel to life. And I mean that literally. Villeneuve has stated how much he loves the book, and it clearly shows in the final product as a whole. It really shows the dedication that he put by taking it slow. I think that is what matters the most with regards to adapting Frank Herbert's novel, is taking it as slow as possible. And I also think he does a good job by not only respecting the fans of the books, I also think that he makes it accessible for newcomers to understand this world. Because, I mean, Dune is a very dense book. It is very filled with just a lot of lore and a lot of information that to a normal human being or to anybody who's never read the book can be a lot, and it can be very hard to follow. And I think he does a really good job of doing everything he can to make it accessible to newcomers, and I think that's what's important, and I really do appreciate that, because even if I hadn't read the book, I do appreciate that it does give you enough information to understand this world. The visuals are incredible, man. Seeing the ships, the houses, space, and creatures look amazing. It all looks so real and incredibly detailed that I sometimes forget that I'm watching a movie. Like, you just sit there and you're like, holy shit, especially when they show you the worms that inhabit Arrakis. They look incredible, man. They look goddamn gorgeous throughout, and it's impressive on how much detail went into just even the look of this worm is just massive in scale. And to think that is all visual effects. It's not practical. It's all visual effects, but it's visual effects done right because they put in the effort and time of making sure the detail on that worm is incredible. The cinematography is, I think, gorgeous. I think cinematographer Greg Fraser makes the universe of Dune feel otherworldly. Stunning shots of Arrakis and even Caladan, and Caladan is the home world of House Atreides. So it makes the film look incredible throughout, and it makes it just epic in scope. It is just insane to me on how much this film just makes everything look incredible, no matter what, and it's all thanks to Greg Fraser's incredible cinematography. I think the production is stellar. From the art design, costumes, props, and locations, it all just really feels like Dune. It also feels lived in a way, which makes the film even feel real. Just the detailing on the suits and the props that they use on set, it's incredible, and it's so well done that it just respects Herbert's work in so many ways. I really think the story is perfect. The movie follows the story from the book very well, although there are some minor changes. A certain character has changed from the book compared to the movie, which is in reference to Dr. Leah Kynes, because in the book, Leah Kynes is a male. In the movie, she is a female. So, yeah, little things like that. But I was really enthralled in following Paul's story throughout and the portrayal of his family. I mean, again, the film takes its time with telling a story. I mean, rather than cramming everything into one compared to the 84 Dune. That's the thing that really hurts that movie, is the fact that they had to cram everything in 2 hours and 17 minutes. I mean, that's not enough to really respect Herbert's work in any way, or at least tell his story from the book. So with that, they take their time. Like I said, it respects the book and the fans of the series. It makes it easy for new audiences to digest and follow. It's not very complicated when you watch it. Maybe reading it could be complicated, but how do you adapt something from this and make it accessible to audiences? And that's what's the beauty of Denis Villeneuve and co. You know, they make it easy for everyone to follow. I think the pacing and runtime is, I think, just right. Since, like I said, the original 1984 film had to fit everything into one film in 2 hours and 17 minutes, it can be daunting. For a long time, Dune was always considered to be unfilmable. Denis made the decision to split the book into 2 parts. And I think that was a wise decision, because I truly think that this movie does its job well. And really, a lot of people can say that this movie is just set up, and that's true. It is set up. But that's the best part about it, is that this is a part 1. So it's setting everything up in a way that at the very least can set up things and continue on for Dune Part 2. And I think it works incredibly well throughout, and it takes its time with setting it up. It can let the characters be set up for when they appear in the second movie. And I think the runtime is just perfect for it being almost 2.5 hours. It's really 2 hours and 35 minutes, but really 2.5 hours. I think that is perfect for what this movie is trying to cover in that amount of time, and it's incredible that they are able to do that. And I think the action sequences are great. I mean, the hand-to-hand combat is, I think, like thrilling and brutal throughout, and also the Ornithopter, which is pretty much like a helicopter in their universe. The Ornithopter sequence where Paul and Jessica are fleeing from the Issac car, the Emperor's army and the Harkonnens was exciting and really tense throughout. Like I said, like when that sequence happens, it's really enthralling to watch. And like I said, that hand-to-hand combat, because most of the time they're using knives, because they have shields that they can't penetrate with just any sort of like weapon. Like say like a gun couldn't penetrate that, so you have to slowly penetrate it as best as you can by slowing down, and then that way you can get in for the kill. Especially what Jason Momoa does in the movie, it's incredible, man. It is some really good, exciting action sequences throughout. And I also think the editing is well done because of the pacing and runtime. It allows for the editing to shine for which scenes are put together. That's what makes good editing work so well. They know when to cut scenes that are seamless. It almost feels as if the editor just knew when to cut at the perfect spot for the movie to keep on going. Like I said, because of that pacing and runtime, it just works well with the editing that is on display here. And that's the thing that I really appreciate that this film tried to do. Because of that slow nature, the editing just knows when to stop at the right moment. The music, man, is spectacular. Is amazing on how much Hans Zimmer, yes, legendary composer Hans Zimmer, is just always at the top of his game because the score he's got here is so incredible. Zimmer just captures the grand and dazzling world of Dune so well. From the orchestral pieces to some of the operatic like vocals, it truly makes the universe a spectacle. It is incredible to know how much and how true of a talent Hans Zimmer is. I don't think there has ever been a score that I sat there and I immediately looked at Hans Zimmer and said, "You're terrible." Because this man truly is one of the best composers that we have living today, and I am so glad to see him still continue to make music of this caliber, and one in which I am always excited to hear him perform. I can say with all confidence that thanks to Denis Villeneuve, Herbert's book was done justice and brought a new lease for modern day science fiction to continue to thrive thanks to this adaptation of this classic book. I really hope science fiction can still live on because you can really see how much science fiction still has a place in our media, on our films. And I'm just glad that even though this is a book from the 60s, it can still revitalize science fiction to still keep continuing to live on due to the success that Denis Villeneuve and co. brought to this movie. I would give Dune a 10 out of 10, man. I think this is a spectacular film. I think this is one which I hope most people can get a chance to watch. If you have not watched Dune Part 1, I highly recommend it. It is easily one of the best movies to have come out in recent years, and it was one of my favorite movies of 2021. So yeah, I hope you really get a chance to watch it for yourself because it was so awesome to see it in the theaters, and it's still awesome now. So I will be doing my review for Dune Part 2, as well as hopefully the Kung Fu Panda series. So yeah, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.